Next question today. Hey, David, should teachers be allowed to discuss politics in the classroom? Why or why not? So, first of all, we've got to understand that there's a kind of practical element to the question of politics in the classroom. And then there's also a question of taboo. So, when we talk about whether your dentist should discuss politics, it's a different conversation than whether teachers should discuss politics. And discuss is also different from advocate for or lobby, right? When your dentist discusses politics, it's really just a risk to them because if you don't agree with their politics or you don't like the fact that they're talking about politics, you can just go to another dentist, assuming that there's a sort of market of dentists that are reasonably priced and accessible in your area. When teachers talk about politics, it's different because of the idea in society that teachers are in a position of authority when it comes to knowledge. And we presumably, I think most parents don't want teachers biasing our children, particularly if they're biasing our children in ways that are not in line with our personal politics. Because the children may not be able to differentiate from just like normal classroom material and the teacher advocating politics. This is why advertising to children is actually so pernicious. There's a period of time when children don't understand the difference between just fun programming and something that's trying to get you to buy a product. And that's why advertising to kids is pernicious. And presumably the same thing could happen when teachers mix classroom material with politics. I do think that if we're going to talk about this seriously, it's got to be divided between sort of like elementary school, middle school, high school starts to become a gray area, and college. I truly couldn't tell you the politics of almost any of my elementary school teachers. And I do think that sticking to the curriculum in a way that's not overtly political does make sense in American public schools. In a lot of classes, we just don't need politics in math class, for example. There are areas, though, once you get into science, once you get into human geography, there are political realities that are either implicit or unavoidable in those areas. And I still think in those cases, teachers should be able to keep the advocacy to a minimum. Don't advocate necessarily for particular candidates, for example. But in science class, you've got to talk about the environment. How do you not talk about climate change? I don't believe climate change is political. It's just the reality, but there are people who do. But teachers have to be able to talk about that. It's just the world around us that they're describing. In college, it gets different. I think but more college politics in the classroom is okay. Advocating for or against specific candidates, maybe it should be kept out of the classroom. But we're talking about adults. We're talking about people who are better able to identify what's a personal view, what is coursework. There's no question that the underlying philosophy and subject matter in a lot of college classes is inherently political, and pretending that it can just be kept out is not reasonable. And you're actually starting to do damage to students if you artificially keep politics out. So, as with most things, the answer is it depends. It depends what we're talking about. It depends what age we're talking about. But some political realities in the classroom are not only unavoidable, they should be advisable. They're actually advisable so that people, students, have a realistic understanding of what is going on in the world.